Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you this evening. John Cornette standing by in the wings with Stash to play some music. We have an exciting guest here, Andrea Herman, and Casper Leach will be the joint host. Howdy, folks. And we'll be back in just a moment after we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves. Da-da.
I feel the force.
And here's John Cornette and Stash.
Thank you very much, Paul. I wrote this song today, wanted to come up with something new here for the show, and this is my response to Measure 80. Almost making it, not quite. Said my medicine wasn't good enough for you. Unless you're sick or dying, wow, that's true. Farmers' families ruined for the freedoms they choose. The victims of mythology and those who rule. Now show me the damages. Show me the damages. Show me the damages. Give me coherency. Give me coherency. Show me coherency. Everybody waking up, speaking their truth. More truth, less lies, we're done with the ruse. You said my medicine isn't good enough for you. I'm here when you need me, and I'll never lie to you. Show me show me the damages. Show me the damages. Show me the damages. Show me coherency. 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 Show me.
Right.
Thank you.
It's John Cornette and Stash. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Thanks, Paul. Pleasure.
Thanks for having me. How are you? And welcome, Casper. You are the newly elected president of the Hemp Industry Association. Is that right?
Yes, just this past Sunday.
Okay. You want to tell our audience what the Hemp Industry Association is?
Yes, it's a U.S.-based network of companies representing the real marketplace out there, and then coexisting with Vote Hemp, which is the political arm, which has been pushing on Capitol Hill, and then also working in conjunction with the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance and the European Industrial Hemp Association, sort of to help all push forward our work.
Mm-hmm. I know one of your projects has been Hemp History Week.
Yes.
Are the HIA's projects?
Yes, well, so one of the projects that we're looking at reaching out to consumers by offering specials and asking people to actually look into their own history.
And what other things does the HIA do?
Well, the HIA particularly right now, we're regrouping. With me coming on, we're going to be focusing on some membership as one of the principles, and then right now we're formulating what the plan's going to be as we move forward. As you know, we have both the HR 1831, which is sitting in the House of Representatives right now, and also the Senate companion bill that was introduced by Ron Wyden here in Oregon. So we're really poised right now to be able to focus on that. So I think as a complete network across the United States, whatever it is you're involved in, the HIA, or working with this team here to make sure that they're actually going out there and asking people to call their congressman.
Now, what type of businesses are we talking about? Are they strictly hemp-related with their hemp products, or are they hemp, like paraphernalia products too, like bongs and pipes?
No,
What kind of?
we're focused 100% on industrial hemp. So
Okay.
our members are also focused on industrial hemp. If they have other things that are happening and still promoting industrial hemp, as long as they know the legal language that we're operating under and that they're functioning within that, then. But we are focused, and our members include from fashion to composites. We work internationally also. So we're not just working with members that are based in the United States.
Oh, so then if you have a product made out of hemp, whether it be food or a piece of cloth that's being turned into fabric for any type of thing, they would contact your organization for helping on finding ways to promote what they're doing and bringing attention.
Absolutely,
Oh, that's
absolutely. And
great.
you don't even have to be in the hemp business right now. Maybe you have interest. Maybe you print labels or you work in packaging, and you're interested in marketing to that type of to that consumer that may be having a hemp product.
So, can you name some of the companies that are involved in the Hemp Industry Association?
Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, Dr. Bronner's, Magic Soap. So they are a principal and have fought long and hard for the rights of American farmers to cultivate industrial hemp.
In fact, I saw where they made a generous donation this week to the people in Kentucky who are working very hard down there to make a change. They
Yes.
donated $50,000, I
Yes,
think.
absolutely, and then
Thank
that
you.
was matched for the Kentucky Hemp Commission. So this is really exciting news to have that happen, and also other companies that you'll be seeing, here that are working on projects like Hemp Oil Canada. They're long-term members and also founding members of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance.
And you worked with them for a number of years, with Hemp
Yes.
Oil Canada.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, my role now with Hemp Oil is I help facilitate farmer liaison as an authorized hemp sampler for Health Canada. And in that job, I go into the field and pull the samples, in which those samples will go off to the lab and be analyzed for THC and then submitted back to Health Canada, and then which the field can progress to become grain or further planting seed.
Do you also help determine what's actually like? You get hemp oil from different companies. I've often thought, who's making sure that they're regulated and what's inside these oils. So you're part of that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, through groups like the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance and our member food companies, Hemp Oil Canada, Manitoba Harvest, for instance, come together and say these are the qualities that we're looking for. So we are moving forward through the association to try to say we're going to give some definitions. What does hulled hemp seed taste like? So we have some standards, but also you're also looking at overall food safety issues. So you have a certificate of analysis that's produced off every batch, looking at molds, yeast, E. coli. So it's a very functioning system within a food safety framework.
Excellent.
And so that's all in Canada, though, because there aren't any cultivation sites here in the United States.
That's right. You're not allowed to bring raw grain into the United States for processing. Now, if you could cold press and mill right here. Now, you can bring seed cake into a place such as Oregon that would have somebody that would mill flour. There's bound to be flour mills here. So you can bring seed cake in and can be making the protein powders and flour right here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There are some companies like Bob Red Mill and others that are doing that.
Well, they're not actually milling it themselves, they're bringing it in.
I see.
They're bringing it in as the completed product. So I was just looking today, from the beginning of this year till July, about $13 million worth of hemp HS code products were sold overall, with a little over $11 million coming into the United States alone.
Wow.
So that's a huge marketplace that we can tap into. And that's just talking about the food side. And those are all coming in as raw bulk ingredients.
What's the most valuable aspect of hemp today, and what's the total value of the hemp market?
Oh, I think they're saying somewhere over 400,000 million here in the United States alone. Once you're talking about the derivative products, is what we classify them as under the legal language of the Health Canada regulations: protein powders, oil, hulled hemp seed, and then those are coming stateside and being incorporated into an actual final product that's going to go on the shelf. So you think about the number of jobs those create, and you see companies like Nativa, which is in Southern California, growing at the rate they're growing, and they've stood on a hemp platform.
Well, I would think that your organization then would be all excited about the way the Canadian government gets behind promoting the hemp products, the hemp goods throughout the globe. And that's something that you would help lobby other countries to do. Does your organization get involved with lobbying politicians?
Here in the U.S.?
Anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and through our members, we've helped with other projects that are going on around the world. Whether or not you look at what's happening in South Africa, they planted their hemp about 3 weeks ago. So, making those kinds of differences and really helping facilitate the legitimacy of what we've been functioning under. In Canada is a perfect example. I mean, for a farmer to become licensed, there's no charge to the farmer. Fill out the piece of paper, you submit it. As long as you don't have a criminal record, you get the right.
Nice, nice.
We are doing our show live on November 16th, Friday. If you're watching live, you can call us at 503-288-4442. I understand we have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, thank you. Hello?
Welcome. Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been addicted to pain pills. I broke my ankle 13 years ago. But I was just wondering about if the new law passed, how would that change the medical marijuana as it is now, or would it? I mean, as Washington passed, but now the feds are coming in to try to stop it.
Well, the new law did not pass. The election happened 10 days ago. And so if it had passed, it would not have affected the medical marijuana law. The medical marijuana law here in Oregon would have remained in place. In Washington State, across the Columbia River from where we sit here, they did pass I-502, and it also did not affect the medical marijuana law. So the medical marijuana law remains the same in Oregon and Washington. The state of Washington, with their new legal marijuana law, will implement that over the period of the next about 13, 14 months before they come up with all the regulations. So it's probably going to be sometime in the middle of 2014 before legal marijuana stores start opening up that can sell marijuana to those over the age of 21. So when that happens, then Oregonians will be able to go over and purchase legal marijuana products there if they're over the age of 21.
And I want to be one of the first customers in line when
I
that
think
happens.
there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I got medical reasons. I was kind of wondering how, if if it passed here, if it would have affected in a negative way in Oregon.
No, it would not.
In
a negative way.
I mean,
It would have made it where any person would have been able to grow their own without a license, but that didn't pass, and so it's a moot point at this point. We're looking forward to the legislative session that starts in January in Salem here in Oregon, and we'll see what comes from that.
And I get the impression that there's a handful of states
Thanks
around
for calling.
Louisiana and I think Iowa are going through their legislation now. And there's a handful of senators across the United States that are taking the results of what happened at the voting booth.
Well, Massachusetts definitely passed a medical marijuana bill. It failed in Arkansas, but I haven't heard about any of those southern states moving forward. There's an online question that we have here, mainly for Andrea. In 2009, Oregon passed a hemp law, and the former Governor Kulongoski signed it into law. What can people do to further reform and make the government see the benefit of hemp? What do you?
That's a great question. We were just discussing that today. I was asking, has there been what's written in that law? And I was told that it's not written in it that you have to have the DEA's permit. But then I've heard also that actually nobody has gone forward to try to apply for it. So I think that would be the thing, is to be working with some farmer groups and actually go and apply for the right, and then get that paperwork, and then move to the next step. And one of the things that we'd be looking to do right here, there is also a hemp cordage factory that's now a brew pub, Bridgeport.
Yeah.
So we have history, or you have history right here of hemp in Oregon. So,
I think it's funny it's a brew pub.
Yes, well, there's lots of them here I've seen.
That's true. So you're going to be starting a class on Tuesday, is that right?
No, it starts in March.
Oh, it starts in March.
Yes.
Okay, and you want to tell our audience about this? It's at Oregon State University?
Yes, it's at Oregon State University under the College of Forestry. Dave Sieber, who owns a company called Hemp Shield, based here in Oregon, was visiting with Professor John Simonson, and they said, oh, it'd be great to do a class on hemp. And John, the professor on OSU, became a super champion right then and there and said, oh, we could do this. And he went away and made it happen, and I had agreed to do the agronomy section talking about hemp farming. And
So you'll be one of many presenters.
yeah, there's 26 in total lectures,
Wow.
26 different lectures. I'm not an expert at all things hemp, so I felt it necessary to really reach out to all of our colleagues. So we've got Professor George Webland from Minnesota. We have some professors out of out of Connecticut, and then working with professors from University of Manitoba, also Northern Ridge, California.
So the Connecticut, I've heard that they were working on hemp oil and hemp biofuel projects.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm learning as I'm going,
Sure.
so I haven't got all the details, but there has been, he said there was some, we were just discussing this also, with some sediment that can cause some problems when you're doing biodiesel. Now, also out of the AHA, which is the European Industrial Hemp Association, you have to really think about the return on oil that you're getting when talking about putting hemp into biodiesel. So I also say that's maybe a change in the breeding program eventually, where you're actually breeding for industrial applications where it's high in oil percentage, but maybe not, you haven't been breeding for essential fatty acids, which can add a lot and length to your breeding program.
And the EFAs are good for human health, but I take it they're not a great biofuel?
Well, not that they're a great biofuel, but I've never heard that they really matter. And if you have spent 10 years breeding for gamma-linoleic acid, you don't want to just put it in your engine.
Right, that makes sense to
when
me.
it can go in your body.
We have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Oh, thank you. Good evening.
Howdy.
I'm enjoying the guest with Rhea.
Hi.
And hello. Paul, I'm wondering if you could reiterate what the parameters of the Washington and Colorado laws that were passed, kind of go over what was in the laws. And then I'm wondering if you could also, which you're so good at every week, just going over again in Oregon what the conditions are that one needs to qualify for a cart in Oregon.
Sure. Well, up in Washington, they've legalized the possession of 1 ounce by an adult over the age of 21. And the legislature, in conjunction with the Washington Liquor Control Board, will work together and promulgate rules and regulations to begin issuing applications by December of next year, 2013. So it's not legal in Washington for adults to grow their own, however, but they can possess up to 1 ounce. And that's led to some very good results in terms of several counties in Washington have dropped hundreds of marijuana possession cases over the past 10 days. Same things happened in 1 or 2 counties in Colorado. So up in Washington, it'll be legal to possess 1 ounce, and effective December 6th. The law goes into effect on December 6th. So I think that'll lead to a tourism boom up there for certain. And in Colorado, you're again allowed to possess up to 1 ounce, but in Colorado they allow you to grow 6 marijuana plants as well. And so that law also goes into effect on December 6th, the month after the election has taken place. Then for the conditions that qualify for medical marijuana, cancer, AIDS, glaucoma, the largest single category is chronic pain. Of course, a lot of cancer patients and others also have chronic pain issues. But gastrointestinal ailments like IBS, Crohn's disease, GERD, qualify. Neurodegenerative diseases such as multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's with rage is also one of the qualifying conditions, and spastic conditions, things that call muscle spasms and seizures. So that pretty much covers the conditions, and those conditions are legal in all states. And so we have clinics, if you or someone you know needs help finding a doctor who can help them get a medical marijuana permit in Oregon, Washington, California, or many other states, you can call us at 1-800-723-0188. Again, that number is 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, it's 503-235-4606.
And something else is wonderful that's happened with the Washington and the Colorado voting. I tell you, they've dropped all these cases. The prosecutors they're not going to go forward with arresting people anymore, and they're done taking people through the court system for having misdemeanor possession charges. And the DEA is basically packing up their little charge horses and going home. So there's going to be a lot of extra people on the golf course there in Washington, D.C., and my buddy Eric Holder is going to have a whole lot less to do. So come on down. I got your lunch there at McDonald's, like I said. But, we are done arresting people, too, and that's a good thing, huh? Yeah.
That's a step in the right direction.
They've also been working on the phytoremediation project in Colorado, the bill that went through.
You want to tell our audience about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting project. They pushed it through relatively quickly, and it's a phytoremediation project looking at sequestering heavy metals from some of the super sites that they have there in Colorado. So we've seen some research come out. Of course, people know about Chernobyl, and so now we're putting that in real time. So that's
Excellent.
yeah.
There's been a lot of toxic mining sites throughout Idaho and other areas, so I know that helps. I've got a question online, and we stream online at ustream.tv. We're live out there and archived at YouTube, and you can ask a question through Ustream through their chat box that'll be transferred to me here. Here's a question for you, Andrea. It's there's now a hemp house in Haley, Idaho. Do you see hempcrete and hemp fiberboard becoming more popular? And what can you tell us about hemp building materials?
Yes, absolutely. I think hemp building materials is one of the next real, it's a gem out there. There's a high demand for it right now. We've seen amazing research coming out of the UK. They have built some major like basically big Target type stores, Spence and Martin's there, out of hempcrete panel boards. So there's a lot of really interesting applications, and using not only hempcrete but also using insulation put and built offsite and then being able to be brought in. There are actual beer distributions that have not used any electricity at all, saving themselves, 150,000 pounds a year in electricity. We're seeing homes here, 3,400 square foot homes over with, electricity bills under $75 fully on the grid.
Yeah, do we have hemp houses here in America?
Yes, you do. You have hemp houses in North Carolina, Idaho. There is a lot of refurbishing going on, people coming in and redoing some existing buildings. We did a hemp building seminar with Steve Allen, which is with the International Hemp Building Association in Wisconsin. So we're seeing a lot of energy come into that.
If someone was interested in having a house built with hemp, how would they go about that?
They could look up hemptechnologies.com. That would be a one start. And through that site, you can go through the links and see other builders around. So that's a nice network. And also you can go to the International Hemp Building Association and check out their members and find the one that's really going to fit for you.
Does it add much additional costs to a structure when you build it all with hemp?
Yeah, well, just at the HIA conference, Mario was saying that they're seeing that the recoup in cost is in about 5 years in energy savings. So within 5 years, you've recouped the over amount. So that's extreme. And also looking at stuff like their living, breathing walls, the thermodynamic of the wall, it's mold resistant. Those can aid to a lot of homes that have mold problems with the sick home syndrome right now.
We have a video clip we're going to roll in, and we'll be back in just a second, take more phone calls and talk to our guest, Andrea Herman of the Hemp Industry Association. Be back in just a moment.
I'm going to bring up Jody Emery, the incredible wife of Mark Emery, who's serving time in a U.S. federal penitentiary for selling seeds over the internet. It's a disgrace. No seeds ever hurt anybody in the history of the world. She's an incredible, tireless campaigner for her husband. She's an incredible activist and a tremendous person. Give it up to Jody Emery.
Thank you so much, Vivian. And thank you so much to HempFest. This is my 4th year here. And every year I am filled with hope because I know our movement is winning. And you're here in the world's largest cannabis celebration. There are people worldwide right now who are so envious of you. They would give anything to come to Seattle HempFest. And you're lucky enough to be here because there are tireless activists working day in and day out all year long to make this happen for you for free to attend. So you owe it to everybody here. Just give $1. You've all got at least $1, I'm sure. Please donate to HempFest because this event is free to attend, to speak about freedom, but it's not free to put on. So show them a little gratitude for that when you leave. My husband's name is Mark Emery. He was called the Prince of Pot by CNN and the Rolling Stone and Wall Street Journal. Media all over the world covered my husband because he did something no one else would do. In 1994, Mark Emery decided to start selling marijuana seeds to people worldwide, no matter where you lived. And in the United States, California passed medical marijuana laws, but there was a need for medicine in the form of seeds. And my husband decided to be brave to sell those seeds to Americans and people worldwide. So not only did Mark Emery, the Prince of Pot, provide millions and millions of marijuana seeds to people worldwide to grow their own medicine and save their own lives, but he promised that every dollar spent on those seeds would go to legalization efforts. He financed ballot initiatives for medical marijuana in Colorado, Washington, D.C., Nevada, Arizona, Alaska, many places where it passed or failed. Mark helped make that happen. Mark founded the U.S. Marijuana Party. He's a Canadian citizen. He never even left Canada, but he knew the U.S. is where the drug war begins and where it must end. So he financed the marijuana movement with millions of dollars. All of the money from those seeds went to activism in this country, in this state, in this city, and places worldwide to help the activists on the ground become leaders in their own right and take forward the torch of victory. And Mark Emery was the most famous activist for that reason. He said, plant the seeds of freedom to overgrow the government. And here we are today, where the U.S. has made so much progress. It's a beacon of hope for the rest of the world because the drug war started here and it spreads around the world like a cancer. It kills people with the drug war in Mexico. It kills people worldwide. It imprisons people, ruins families, takes away fathers from their little babies. It hurts people who hurt no one. You aren't hurting anyone, but the law is designed to hurt you. So you, like my husband and every other activist, taking a stand, owe it to the people in prison and the people who died to change this law. Here in Washington this November, legalization is on the ballot. Vote yes on I-502 for legal stores selling legal marijuana to protect you from going to prison and to send a message worldwide that we need freedom. And legalization starts here so it can then spread throughout the world. And my husband, who was imprisoned for his activism, the DEA admitted it was all about the money. They tracked all the money and they said, yeah, he gave it all away to political activists and campaigns. Mark Emery was a threat to the U.S. drug war, and that's why they took him down. They brought him into this country when he never even came here. Mark Emery, the Prince of Pot, is a Canadian who planted the seeds of freedom to overgrow the government, to save people's lives, and he's a hero like all the heroes in prison because of this drug war, and we owe it to them because you're here today, you're free today, you get to be here, you get to vote, you owe it to all of those people suffering worldwide to change this, to legalize marijuana, end prohibition, and support everybody who's taking action to make that happen today. So thank you, Seattle Hemp Fest. This smoke signal goes worldwide, and it should be followed by Yes on 502, legalization this November. Vote yes, make a difference, save lives, and legalize marijuana. Thank you very much. I'm Jody Emery. My husband is Mark Emery, the Prince of Fox.
Well, you know, she seems right. It's like the media is now saying positive things about the laws that have changed now in both states, and you're starting to see more about hemp and less about marijuana now in the news and Time and Newsweek and on CNN. So she's right. We made a difference at the voting booth, and it's going to start changing, I think, all the way around the world.
I think that's right. So both Washington and Colorado's bill have a hemp component. Do you know much about that?
Yes, they do. In Colorado, they have adopted a lot of the Canadian subset, saying that 0.3% THC. They do have, I think, until 20. I'm not exactly sure the date, but they do have some time to formulate the regulatory body that will be operating, that the industry will be operating under.
I know that the 0.3%. You know, I've talked a lot about how it limits the seed production.
Yes.
I think you're in agreement on that. Do you want to address that issue?
Yeah, I mean, let's say in Europe it's 0.2%. We have some places in Australia that it's 1%. So at what level is it psychoactive? I mean, right now we've had it at 0.3. I do think it can limit. Now within the Canadian framework, you can work with higher than 0.3% in breeding programs underneath your research permit. So you can bring those in if one might have a higher gamma-linoleic acid, or you're looking for, a variety. In this case, it has a short stature.
And have you seen a correlation between THC content, flower size, and seed production?
No, not that I know of. And I think that those are some of the interesting research points that maybe haven't actually been looked at.
Right.
And underneath the Canadian regulations, we're not allowed to work with the leaves or the flowering parts unless we have a research permit. So in that case, does the research actually facilitate what needs in full-blown agriculture? We had over 50,000 acres licensed this year.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
We have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, welcome to the show.
Yes, I have a question. Hi.
Howdy.
I am a medical card holder, and I have powdery mildew on my plants right now, and I'd like to know what I could use to get rid of it.
Are you in the flowering cycle? Or
Yes,
is it in the vegetative cycle?
vegetated.
Okay.
Oh,
So there's several things you can use. I would recommend a neem oil. Clarified neem oil is better. That can help control that. Rinsing it with a bleach agent, a diluted, highly diluted bleach, will also help in the vegetative state. I wouldn't use either one of those in the flowering cycle, though. Increased airflow and lowering the moisture in the air, the humidity level, that can help as well.
And does using dish soap help too as well?
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. And turn a fan on, right?
Yeah, lots of air movement is going to help for certain.
But dilute the dish soap if you really a lot.
Yeah.
That's such a difference between the hemp cultivation and medical cannabis production, is that we're growing on mass scale and not.
Yeah, you can't take time to treat individual plants like that.
Yes.
Just count on a certain amount of loss, I know.
50,000 acres?
Yes.
Oh, I want to see that harvested.
It's so beautiful.
I bet.
Yes.
I bet.
So if you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. So in Canada, which is basically the only place in North America where you can legally produce any hemp right now, the main product is seed and the grain.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
What's the use of the fiber that's produced? Is it the farmers growing separately for fiber and separately for grain?
Yeah, in the initial beginning, we were growing the taller stature cultivars that came over from mostly from the Ukraine. But now that the industrial hemp has been legalized in Canada since 1998, they've developed breeding programs to actually breed for short stature cultivars, and that we wouldn't be dealing with the fiber. So we have the holdup right now is that we have a lack of decortication equipment. And this is an infrastructure that it's going to take to actually decorticate the fiber, so you're getting the bast and the herds separate for whether you're going into animal bedding, composite application, or into a hempcrete or building press board types of applications. And also, you're not able to haul the bales completely across the provinces, so you need to have them really regionally located closer to where the grower groups are, because if not, it becomes uneconomical to be freighting bales on the back of trucks to facilities that are hundreds of miles away.
Right. So is there paper production going on in Canada with that?
No.
None at all?
Now, there is a little bit of fiber that is coming into the U.S. to be made into some artisan-type papers, but not on the scale we need. I mean, it's a huge business opportunity to recognize the fact that there's a growing demand for the hemp building. Now you have all these other kind of interesting products and mandates from companies to actually go green and use these type of green composites in their parts. So it's an opportunity for somebody to recognize the fact that, we do have this production. We have farmers that are looking for another venue of, increasing the farm gate. And that's one of the major ways to do it, is to take this fiber.
Now, is it possible to invest in these companies like a blue chip stock on the stock market? Are they on the stock market, penny stocks, or?
Not really. They're mostly private companies that are looking at, there are a few right now that do have really solid plans put together, companies coming over also from our colleagues in the UK and in Europe looking and saying, hey, there's an opportunity here, especially when they're selling containers, loads of hemp herd into the United States. Why can't we be, well, then they're saying, why can't we just do it in Canada and easily ship it into the major market?
Right.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Well, so much for that one. We have a studio audience member who has a question. So go right ahead.
I'd like to comment on the differentiation that you were talking about last week, in fact, about between like recreational use and social use and that kind of argument. And
I think the term recreational, when it comes to adult use of cannabis, is pejorative. We don't talk about the recreational use of alcohol or the recreational use of tobacco. It's always termed in social use. And so to apply it to cannabis, say that's recreational, it's not swimming or basketball or anything like that. It's a social context. So just to rehash that, but did you have any other specific question about that?
Well, I think it should be kept completely separate from alcohol and tobacco and all that kind of stuff. And as far as the argument, it's not just about getting high. It's a powerful, sophisticated technology that needs to be understood for what it is and for what it does for the body and the mind and the spirit.
And so you don't think that the term recreational is appropriate either, I take it?
No, definitely not.
What do you think about the term social use?
That's much more appropriate, I think.
Are there any other terms you would think were equally or even more appropriate?
Well, to me, it's more of a sacred sacrament. So it's different from. It's not like it's not just about getting high. It's a totally different kind of.
Sure.
It's.
Yeah, I agree, and there are a lot of religious uses around cannabis. Some people don't agree with that, but of course, there's a lot of controversy around any spiritual practice, I believe.
What do you call it when someone like me who just wants to fire up and then sit down and watch Looney Tune cartoons for a half hour? Or go to a 3D IMAX because it's more fun that I've smoked this joint than it is if I haven't. Or even a bike ride.
I would call that social use.
Social
myself.
use?
Yeah, I'd call that social use.
Okay.
Maybe it's spiritual, I don't know. I don't know if that fits with the Looney Tunes cartoon. When it comes to an IMAX film, well, I guess it depends on what the film is.
All right, but not recreational.
I don't think it's recreational. I think recreational implies, some sort of physical activity.
Okay.
And or some sort of they just don't apply it for alcohol or tobacco, and I think it's pejorative. or has negative implications when it comes to cannabis.
Cool.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much. My question is one that comes up often. I'm a Washington patient, and I'll be flying out of the Portland airport for Evo. How should I carry my medicine, and what tips can you give me on carrying it?
You know, that raises a question. Since your permit is in Washington and you're crossing the border, that permit does not apply in Oregon. But I would recommend just carrying your cannabis in your carry-on luggage. Make sure it's wrapped so the smell doesn't overwhelm other people. And but since you don't have an Oregon permit, if they found it, it could be you could be fined for under an ounce or arrested for more than an ounce. And so that's a risk you'd have to take. Also, if you want to put it in your checked baggage, then I'd make sure you keep a copy of your medical marijuana authorization with it, and make sure you don't have other things that your baggage might be open to be checked. The marijuana will not show up, but if you have large bottles of liquid or electronics, they might open your bag to look for those. So that would be my recommendation, as a frequent cannabis holding flyer.
And TSA agents lately have been discovered to be thieving from many people who are traveling on the airlines. So
I've never had that happen. So when you say many, you know, in fact, I had one TSA agent at the Portland airport tell me his father, I had a volcano vaporizer that I'd put into a bin to go through the x-ray machine, and he said his father had a volcano and a medical marijuana permit, and it had really helped him. But I've never encountered any theft of my cannabis in hundreds of flights.
But that's just something to be careful of.
Well, would you recommend carrying it on the carry-on then, or the old the old crop to do?
No, carry on.
Yeah, on your carry-on.
Oh, don't try to be hiding something. It just draws attention to it.
But they recommend, if you have an Oregon permit, that you can put it in its own bin with your permit, and they'll x-ray it that way. But I've never done that. I've just kept it closed within my carry-on.
I think it's cool the way you walk through the airport with your vaporizer there in your suitcase on wheels, and everywhere you go, you've got your vaporizer with you. So.
Well, okay. Well, thank you, and let me say that you guys are my heroes, and congratulations to everybody everywhere for the legalization we got in Washington.
Yeah, it's very successful in Washington, Colorado. Right now, I think we're at 46.6% of the vote here in Oregon. That's not enough, but we certainly came a lot closer than many people suspected, and at least that's gratifying.
I'm trying to get my mind around it still. I can't believe I lived to see the day. Thank God.
Yeah. In Portland, we got 61% of the vote. So it's heartening to know that 61% of the people here in River City support complete legalization and allowing people to grow their own without limits or penalties. So I think that makes it just about impossible to get a marijuana conviction in Portland if someone took something to trial, which we will be trying to get the legislature to pass a bill for complete legalization. There's talk of a couple different prominent legislators in Salem helping push that through. Currently, it seems if it does pass, it's likely to be a referral to the 2014 ballot by the legislature. If that happens, I am particularly advocating that we take it directly to the governor's desk, but that would of course depend on whether Governor Kitzhaber would sign it into law. I think if both houses of the state legislature, which are controlled by Democrats, passed such a bill, then that might put pressure on Governor Kitzhaber. And one of the things that I've said for several years is that I believe when the Democratic Party takes a forward position on marijuana legalization, it will be much like the Democratic Party endorsing the end of alcohol prohibition back in 1933. They built the biggest Democratic majority ever seen that controlled both houses of the federal Congress and the presidency for almost 40 years. And I think we could see a similar thing happen when the Democratic Party takes control and advocates the end of marijuana prohibition.
Funny how doing the right thing can reap such a good reward.
Yeah.
Well, we sure pushed back the forces of evil last Tuesday, by golly.
We did. And some people have said it's the most successful failure ever. But time will see how far we can push this. But if the legislature doesn't come out with a referral or put something on Governor Kitzhaber's desk, then we'll be back with an initiative to completely legalize and regulate and allow people to grow their own cannabis here in the next cycle.
Well, that's one of
Oregon's
the
next.
It's one of the
That's
benefits of it happening in Washington and Colorado first, in the sense that whatever the DEA and the federal agents are going to do, they're going to do it with those two states, so that when we get around the chance to do it here in Oregon again, those hurdles will be knocked down and just part of the past.
One of the big breakthroughs is that our conservative newspaper, The Oregonian, says the fact that it's now legal across the river, that makes it a compelling argument to legalize now. So that's definitely a step forward.
If your neighbor does it, then we will.
Yeah.
I got it.
Thanks
Okay.
for your questions there, sir. We have a studio audience member with a question as well. Go right ahead, Michael.
Well, great. Thank you, Paul. I've got a question for your guest. Recently heard of the use of the CBD in hemp for medicinal use, and I was just wondering if you have any comment on that, any on the advances of using that in that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Getting lots of calls on that. So I'm not exactly sure the legalities of CBD. As far as my understanding, it's still listed underneath our Office of Controlled Substance, which falls outside of our hemp section.
In Canada.
Yes. And in addition to that, we're not allowed to work with the leaf or the flowering parts, which from what I've taken, that's where most of it's coming from. So we're limited on that. There is research now, and through the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, from our member base, that was one of the things that they put forward, saying that this is important for us to have a better understanding. So we're now looking into that and seeing how does that fall, where does that fall within the hemp section, and what are the real legalities that are behind it.
Now, when you say limited, it was my understanding, Jack Hare would oftentimes express that the bud that came from the plant was really like 1 or 5% of the value of the plant, and the rest of the value came from the seed and the stock. So when you say you're limited, I've got to think that the limitations in what you're doing are still pretty small.
Yes, they are, and we are facilitated. I mean, there is ongoing research right now with Canadian, federal permits to actually look at that. There has been some interesting using biotechnology and mapping with John Page's project. So that's, and we do have, the interest from within government to listen to our constituents within our membership.
Well, be careful, you might prove the White House wrong sometime.
So, when you talk about the medicinal properties of cannabis, THC, which is the main psychoactive component, is useful as an anti-emetic or anti-nausea thing. It's an appetite stimulant, which I always like to quip is not good for me, but it's useful for those and also for anxiety and depression. But it's really CBD that's the primary medicine in cannabis, cannabidiol, and it is good for pain, spasms, seizures, neurodegenerative diseases, and to fight cancer. THC has some antioxidant and cancer-fighting properties as well. But CBD blocks the high associated with THC and is a powerful medicine in its own right. And there are several other medicinal compounds in cannabis as well.
Yeah, we will be having a portion of the course offered at Oregon State on looking at the pharmacological attributes of cannabis.
So, a question from our online audience. It's taken Canada 15 years to develop what they have there now. What can the United States do with a network with Canadian processors to do? You have any suggestions?
On how to network with the Canadian processors?
Yeah, and to help us develop
products.
The hemp products.
Yeah, the hemp products. I think that's a great question also. I mean, because of the fact that in Canada we get lots of government funding, if there are U.S. interest in that, they can be working with the Canadian counterparts on to actually fund some research to add some legitimacy to the product, let's say, for one instance. In other instances, there are companies that are getting ready to be publicly offered in food production, so that's going to be an opportunity. So,
Can you say what those companies are?
They haven't released it yet, but you
Okay.
can stay tuned to the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, and you'll be hearing, because this is one of our members, so we will be putting out information about that when it's coming time. So this is going to be an opportunity. In addition, I think that, making the power to go to the store right now and buy the products, that makes a huge difference, because when we start to see the SPINS data come in, which looks at, not at Whole Food sales, but the normal grocery stores chains, and we see this kind of increase growing, 4 or 5% increase in food sales, and the massive amount that we're talking going now into the general Walmart, you'll find hemp products there. So this is reaching that, what I say, everyday people, it's becoming obtainable. So when they're purchasing that product, I think that also makes a huge point. And like I say, we need to be making sure that people are calling their congressperson. Because right now, I put out today, I said, how can I ask a stranger to call their congressperson when I know my own family has not done it?
Oh.
So where are we, right? When my own family won't do it, and we're so passionate, and how can we ask strangers? So we're dependent upon all of the people actually picking up that phone call. And hopefully it'll encourage my own family to do it.
Here in
I
Oregon.
have no problem. I don't have, man.
And you can go to Vote Hemp and look under Take Action, and right there tells you what the bills are. You put in your zip code. It's going to give you a little script so you have an idea about what to say when you make those phone calls to your
And here in
stores.
Oregon, our two United States senators, Ron Wyden and Jeff
Yes.
Merkley, have both sponsored the hemp bills, so they're both on board with that.
Yes.
I have
So
no
have you
problem.
been working with them?
Yeah, with Ron Wyden's office, giving them feedback on agronomy, and as they progress, we'll be in more contact. And now with the course at Oregon State, it really puts Oregon on the map as what could be a potential leader in the hemp industry.
And I have no problem with asking strangers to pick up the phone and call their congresspeople.
you.
Do that.
Yes.
We need to end this prohibition. We need to start bringing jobs back to America, and we need to be competitive on the open market by creating fabulous products from this plant. Pick up that phone now and make that call happen.
Speaking
Absolutely.
of calls, we have a caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Howdy.
Oh, hi there. So I heard you guys talking about seeds earlier.
Uh-huh.
Now, okay. My girlfriend and I raise birds, and the birds just happen to love hemp seed.
Yeah,
And
has all that essential fatty acid. Makes their feathers shiny.
But in Oregon, currently, in order to get them, they have to be processed in such a way that they have no THC value, and I think they're toasted, and they're much more expensive. And now that surrounding states are starting to, have a change in values, it's inevitable that much cheaper hemp seed might start to make its way around, and this unprocessed seed might happen to make its way into my bird's food dish. And I was just wondering if you guys happened to know if the THC content of the seeds would pose any sort of a health risk to the bird.
There is no THC in the seeds itself. So,
Okay, then.
I saw Andrew Weil on Dr. Oz this week. Hi, Andy. We love you.
Yes.
And he made comment that the hemp seed is a substance that we as humans must have every day in our diet because of all the great amino acids and all the groovy things that's found inside there. So I can only assume if humans need it, then something as magnificent and marvelous and spectacular as a bird with all that beautiful color and ability to fly needs the amino acids found in the hemp seed as well.
I think you'd be more to look at the copper or zinc or one of the other micronutrients or vitamins or dietary fiber when making the bird's diet versus over worrying about the THC. So that's what I would suggest.
From what I understand from John Barenbach at the International Institute of Hemp. Hi, John. It helps the birds whistle and twitter and sing more because it keeps their throats more, lubed.
Yeah, from the oils.
During the Marijuana Tax Act hearings in the United States Congress back in 1937, the birdseed manufacturers came in and opposed the implementation of marijuana prohibition because they saw it as cutting the availability of hemp seeds, and that hemp seed was crucial for many birds' foods. In fact,
Nia's right saying that to bring it into the U.S. right now, it has to be sterilized, or what we'll say rendered non-viable. But now we look at our friends in Europe, and they're actually able to have raw hemp seed as a snack. So that's another regulatory change to say, we don't want to limit ourselves in our ability to use the plant. So saying things like we have to render it non-viable, maybe, that's...
we are down to just a little bit, about 2.5 minutes left to go here.
Okay.
So,
okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your question. That was a great one. I'd like you to tell our audience how they can contact the Hemp Industry Association. And, we could have talked much longer here. I had more questions for you, but, the clock's ticking. So if someone wanted to look up the Hemp Industry Association, get involved, what websites?
You can go to the HIA.org. Also, key is to go to Vote Hemp. Go to Vote Hemp and click on the Take Action, and that's going to take you to a page that you're going to be able to put in your zip code, and it's going to give you exactly who you're going to need to call in your House of Representatives and the Senate. So those are key. If you're looking to see what's going on in Canada, you can look up hemptrade.ca, and if you're looking for me, you'll find a link through Paul's Ustream.
All right. And Casper, I know you do a 5-day-a-week radio show on radio stations across America and on the internet.
I'd like to promote it with that voice from Fox. It's exciting. It's stimulating. You must tune in to AmericanFreedomRadio.com Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. and take Time for Hemp.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for watching again. We have John Cornette and Stash ready to close out on another song. Thank Andrea for coming on. And Andrea? Sorry. Andrea, I'm sorry. Sorry. And we'll be back next week to help us restore hemp.
This is a little song for our traveler that we talked to earlier. Only we're going to change it a little bit.
All right.
Oh, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Well, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Back to that brand new place, Sweet Bud, Colorado. Yeah, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Oh, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Oh, back to that brand new place, Sweet Bud, Colorado. 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4. Get your bong together, we're going out the door. Well, come on, baby, don't you want to go?